Welcome to Peachy Books Reviews. This channel is a place where I will share audio readings of my book reviews as they are published on my blog at peachybooks.ca. When I review a book, I don't subscribe to any conventional style and will instead let the book guide me. Like most art, I feel the books I read very intensely, and my writing can sometimes reflect that. My reviews are a mixture of synopsis with my feelings, thoughts, and connection to the books I read. Things are without restriction around here, so if you're looking for something more formal, I understand, and thank you for listening thus far. To those that remain, I hope you enjoy the channel and will join me back at peachybooks.ca where we can have open discussions about amazing stories. Thanks for joining me. Peachy Books Book Review for Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. The month of May is about mental health awareness, and as someone who has been battling with mental health throughout life, I am always eager to recognize the occasion. This year, I'm doing so by reading and reviewing Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. Of course, Eleanor isn't fine, and herein lies the facade of wellness that people masquerade behind, and that others are willing to accept to keep their own wellness properly shielded. What a perfectly fine way to keep everyone teetering on the edge of madness. It's time to change that, and it starts with honest and unflinching stories like this one. Eleanor is not an easy woman to admire, as she is judgmental, unabashedly ornery, and wallows in misery. Some might find her downright annoying because of these attributes, but I am rather fond of her because of them. The realness that she exudes is exactly what I would expect of someone having gone through the traumas that she has shouldered. And Honeyman has written a phenomenally accurate portrayal of a broken and abandoned soul, arrested in development and closed down to human connection. This is a quote from Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. I wasn't good at pretending, that was the thing. After what had happened, given what went on there, I could see no point in being anything other than truthful with the world. I had literally nothing left to lose. As uncomfortable as her behavior might be for others, it is her reality that has molded her, and most would likely carry on the same way if handed her experiences. Do we just cast away and ignore broken people, those who make us feel uneasy? At the very least, we shun them socially, thus we're not reminded of their pain. Quote, if someone asks you how you are, you're meant to say, fine. You are not meant to say that you cried yourself to sleep last night because you hadn't spoken to another person for 2 consecutive days. Fine is what you say. Imagine, if you will, living every day of your life without a parent that loves you. As sad as it is, a lot of people in the world have a void in place of one of their parental figures. Either of the 2 people charged to love, cherish, and support a child instead of either used, abused, or abandoned them, sometimes all 3. But being dealt the double whammy of having 2 dads for a mom and dad, now, that's a rough ride. Add foster care and no other family to the mix, and you've got a recipe for the social pariah that is Eleanor. Quote, I wondered if that's what it would be like in a family, if you had parents or sisters, say, who would be there, no matter what. Life is full of suffering, and making it in a world that will chew you up even when you've been sent in fortified with a force field of unconditional love is one thing. But what happens to those without a stitch of armor? They become hardened, disconnected, fearful, and live by the mantra, I will get them before they get me. Not a very pleasant way to be, but a harsh reality nonetheless. Quote, I had no one, and it was futile to wish it were otherwise. After all, it was no more than I deserved. And really, I was fine. At times, you'll see people invalidate the struggle of someone like Eleanor, lambaste them and instruct them that all they need to do is pull up their bootstraps and deal with their childhood issues. like it's just a rite of passage or a hill to climb. Besides, everyone has problems, right? But when you haven't a soul that cares for you, how do you know how to care for others, least of all yourself? How do you realize that you are even worth it? Quote, I pondered this. Was that what people wanted for their children? For them to be happy? It certainly sounded plausible. It has been my experience that it takes just one person to show kindness and affection to someone who has lived a life in survival mode, to make all the difference and set things in motion towards betterment. And for Eleanor, Raymond is that person. Quote, sometimes you simply needed someone kind to sit with you while you dealt with things. Raymond is a kind and endearing chap that fate has dangled in the path of Eleanor, and not a moment too soon. Although she hasn't the ability to recognize the fortune that their becoming friends affords her, we the readers are able to see how his lightness of spirit is able to envelop the darkness of Eleanor's heart, and how she slowly evolves into whom she was always meant to be. Raymond is a saint, that's for certain, as Eleanor undoubtedly tests the limits of his friendship with her quirky, bold, and destructive ways. But because he is a true friend who cares for her unconditionally, something she has never personally experienced before, her fortress of fear and judgment cracks, and she makes a metamorphic shift. Quote, Eleanor, I said to myself, sometimes you're too quick to judge people. The voice in my head, my own voice, was actually quite sensible and rational, I'd begun to realize. It was Mummy's voice that had done all the judging, and encouraged me to do so too. I was getting to quite like my own voice, my own thoughts. I wanted more of them. They made me feel good, calm even. They made me feel like me. This novel will tear you down and toss you up, spin you around, and leave you coming out dizzy by its surprise ending. But it's so worth the read. Eleanor is mistrusting, damaged, frightened, and unaware of the possibilities that life holds for her. But she is also a survivor and an inspiration. No matter the devastating circumstances that we are made privy to throughout, by the novel's conclusion we are left uplifted, cheery, and exalted by a life headed in the right direction. A perfect selection for a discussion about the importance of mental health and the ways to achieve it. Quote, in the end, what matters is this. I survived. I gave him a very small smile. I survived, Raymond, I said, knowing that I was both lucky and unlucky, and grateful for it. You've been listening to a book review reading by Peachy Books. If you enjoyed this reading, don't forget to show me by pressing the like button, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the notification bell so you know when reviews are published. Visit me at peachybooks.ca to talk about some of our favorite books. Thanks for listening.